Yes. Welcome in, guys. Good afternoon to everybody. Hopefully, you're all well. Today's a bit of a weird one. Transfer news, a bit of transfer talk on this. What day are we on? Is it Wednesday? Yeah, the days are just absolutely flying by at the moment. Can you believe it's only Christmas? I checked this morning, right? Can you believe it's only 10 weeks to Christmas? 10 weeks? What? How is it nearly Christmas already? That's absolutely insane. Anyway, hopefully you guys are all well. Make sure you drop a like on the stream. Subscribe to the channel as well if you're new. We have got some transfer news. It is the international break, so typically transfer news always comes out in the international break because the journalists need to say stuff to, put papers out and put articles out there so they get information about transfers and stuff. I do feel like that's kind of how it works. So we're going to go into it. A bit of news about Javi Simmons, which I know for a fact is going to please 99% of people in the stream because you guys love Javi Simmons so much. So we're going to go through that as well as some news on Calvin Phillips. So we're going to go through that as well. Before we do, let's give some shout outs. Let's see who's in the stream today. We've got Kipat's Kid 55, Arvida Zane, RGS, Brian A, Joshua Spear, Dusk Feed the Goat, Marshall, Herbal Attraction, Elder, Sam Martin's there. Who else is here? Hayden's in the building. ES is in the building. Ollie Smith is in the building. Yes. Daniel De Las Haras is also in the building. Yes, bro. That's a pretty sick name. That I can't lie. Is that the best name? Is that the best name out of anyone in the stream? Daniel De Las Haras. I think that's a pretty sick name, bro. Oh no, Kipat's Kid just says just fractured my finger. It's not looking good, bruv. That ain't good, bro. That is not good. Yes, Noodles. Good to see people in. Big up to 55 said, I would be so hyped if we get Simmons, but it will never happen. If we did, I would literally get his name on a shirt. And you can hold me accountable to that. Well, this is the thing. A lot of you guys do want Javi Simmons at Manchester City. Let's bring up the latest news then on this. It's come from Sport Build, who are okay. For the large part, they're all right, Build. They're not the worst source in the world. And, of course, if we go back to the Haaland transfer, not last summer, the summer before, they were absolutely bang on. Now, this has come from more of their, I would say, speculative side of the paper, but they're not the worst. They're not the worst paper in the world. They're not the worst source in the world. Manchester City are one of the clubs lining up to take Javi Simmons next summer if he does not return to Leipzig on loan from PSG. Manchester City and Real Madrid are both watching the attacking midfielders' performances closely. Now, Javi Simmons, let's get a little bit of information on Javi Simmons for people who are not 100% sure on him. Well, that's a picture of him there, if you if you didn't know. Now, he's only 20 years old, and he has been sort of followed for a very, very long time, and a lot of people do like him. Now, in terms of positioning, he's actually quite a versatile player. He's played in quite a lot of positions over his career. He's played in attacking midfield. He's played left wing, right wing. He's played as a striker, false nine a number of times as well. So he's quite versatile, which Pep Guardiola likes. In total, he's played 48 games for PSV and got 22 goals, 12 assists. And he's played 11 times for PSG and only got 1 assist. However, I would say that in that, even though he's played 11 games, he only played 300 minutes. So it's not exactly a fair representation. However, it's this season that's really sort of making him stand out. If you check his stats, and in fact, I can probably bring up his stats here on screen. Javi Simmons this year got off to an absolute flyer. As you can see there, 7 games in the Bundesliga so far with 3 goals and 4 assists. That's in 559 minutes, which if you do the maths, 559 divided by, what was it? 7. That's a goal or an assist every 80 minutes. That's super impressive. And of course, he is very, very versatile. So listen, I think for me, at this current moment in time, I do think that City need to be looking at another attacking player. I said that in the summer. I said I thought we was one light. I thought we was one player short of what we needed in that sort of attacking space. And I think that's kind of been proven over the last couple of weeks without Kevin De Bruyne and our sort of lack of attack. I think Lucas Paqueta would have been a great option. Attacking midfield. He can also play right wing if you really need him to. But he's obviously got this gambling thing going over it. Now, we don't know whether the gambling thing for Lucas Paqueta is going to get sorted out. If it does, maybe City will go back in for him. Maybe they'll just think to themselves, nah, we can't be seen to be getting a player who's got some sort of like gambling thing over his head, even if it gets cleared, just because of obviously City with the charges and that. We don't really want to be getting ourselves involved with a player like that. So they might look at someone else. Now, Javi Simmons appears to fit the bill. Very young, can develop, can learn under Pep Guardiola, can play in a number of positions. Potential there. In terms of what it's going to cost, well, I mean, transfer mark's got an estimated value of 40 million euros. But to be honest with you, I think it'd be more than that, to be honest with you, especially if he carries on his current form this season. A goal every 80 minutes, a goal or an assist every 80 minutes. If he finishes, he keeps up that, he'll finish on crazy numbers by the end of the year. So you're probably going to be looking closer to 80 to 90 million if this year he carries on that form. But you guys, a lot of you guys in the chat really, really rate him. You really do. His career, when he come through the Barca Youth Academy, then he moved from Barcelona to PSG. He then went on from PSG to PSV Eindhoven and then back to PSG on a buyback. He's then been loaned to Leipzig. I think that's what's happened. Is that what's happened? Yeah. Then he's gone to Leipzig. And then he's going to go back to PSG at the end of the year. Oh, they've just added a new thing to transfer, Matt, upcoming transfer. I've never seen that before. So listen, I think it's an exciting one. I think it's an interesting one. And of course, not saying this guy is, but as I keep saying, at some point, you are going to have to start. I know people don't want to do this. I know you don't want to do this, some of yous, but you are going to have to start thinking about your Kevin De Bruyne replacement sooner or later, because you can't wait until he leaves. You've got to be getting him in a year, 2 years before he leaves. And if you think about it, Kevin De Bruyne, now what is he, 32, 33? I've said it for a long time. I do not see Kevin De Bruyne the type of player to stay at Manchester City until he's 38, like a Luka Modric. I think he'll probably leave 34, 35. So you've maybe got 2-3 years left max. So in my opinion, being proactive, you need to be looking at buying a Kevin De Bruyne replacement or someone to come through and learn under Kevin De Bruyne to take that spot in the next year or two. Ideally, you kind of want to be doing it this summer. But if you don't want to do it this summer, then you 100% have to do it the summer after, in my view. So could they look at Javi Simmons as that player? Not sure. Is he Kevin De Bruyne replacement? Not sure. Are we going to look for like a Kevin De Bruyne replacement? Or are we just going to get a player in that sort of position? Again, not really sure. But Sport Build today reporting that Manchester City are in for Xavi Simmons. The cost on it is exactly Herbal Attraction here with the chat. Says PSG not going to let him go for cheap, but I feel this is a player who can be world class in some years, and this could be our only chance of buying him that cheap. Listen, I agree on the costing. Like I say, he's got 7 goal involvements this season already. He's getting a goal involvement every 80 minutes. If you extend that across the course of a full season, say he plays 40 matches, he's going to be getting close to 40 goals. Goal involvements if his goal involvements dry up slightly. He's going to be getting close to 40 goal involvements. 40 million, that's way off the mark. So you are going to be looking, I think, closer to 70, 80 million if he carries on this form. Of course, if he doesn't carry on the form, then the price won't be that much. Plus, the excitement for him won't be that high. But he is a player that a lot of people do like, and I think obviously clearly City are interested in him as well. I think what we'll end up doing at some point, I don't know when, we'll end up doing a stream just on Kevin De Bruyne and really sort of looking at who could potentially replace Kevin De Bruyne. Guys, make sure you drop a like on the stream if you've not done so already. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well if you're new. We're getting close to 8,500 subscribers. I can't believe how fast it's going up. So if you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. And like I say, making sure you drop a like on the stream as well. Right, let's turn our attention then to Calvin Phillips' future at Manchester City. And this is the news coming out today from Steve K. He says that Tottenham remain interested in signing Manchester City's Calvin Phillips ahead of the upcoming January transfer window. I think this is something that could potentially happen. Because if you look at Tottenham right now, Tottenham are obviously in a great spot. They're in a great place at the moment. Their morale in the club is so high. The fans are buzzing. Basuma is absolutely killing it in that CDM position. But if you listen to what Tottenham fans are saying, a lot of Tottenham fans are saying if Basuma gets injured or suspended, as he is now, they're a drastically weaker team. Credit to Bissouma for how good he's been this season, and they don't feel that they have the necessary cover for Bissouma. So they need to buy a player to compete with Bissouma, to be able to put in place of Bissouma when he needs to be rested, and of course when Bissouma gets injured or suspended, someone to come in. You look at someone like a Calvin Phillips, and that could be almost a perfect deal for Tottenham. They get cover for Bissouma. They get someone who can push him. He's an England international. They get him for relatively cheap. I honestly think that this is something that could potentially happen as well. If Tottenham sign Calvin Phillips in January, which of course is what this is suggesting, then that sort of, for me, sends out a little bit of a message from Tottenham's board and hierarchy to the Tottenham fans to say, no, we are actually serious. We are actually serious. We want to go for top four. We want to go for trophies. And by getting, I know Calvin Phillips has had a terrible time at Manchester City, but he's still an okay player. He's still a good footballer. He does well for Leeds. He's done well for England. And to get him as like a backup or someone who can compete with Bissouma, that's a great deal for Spurs. Of course, we know Manchester City, Pep Guardiola, not really interested in keeping him, to be honest with you. Pep Guardiola was quite happy for Calvin Phillips to leave in the summer on loan. That's what Pep Guardiola said in a press conference. So it's, don't start crying if you don't like the fact that that's what happened. Calvin Phillips obviously wanted to stay at Manchester City and fight for his spot. I think even though we've only played 8 Premier League games and a couple of cup matches, I think to me it's already quite clear that that's just not going to work. So that could be something that happens. If it does happen, I'd prefer us to sell him. You know what I mean? Because I just don't think what's a loan going to do? I don't think he's going to go to Tottenham and play loads of football. So I think selling him would just be a better option, get the cash in. And of course, we can look to redeploy that either in January or most likely in the summer. But listen, I think that's actually not the worst thing in the world. You know what I mean? It's a good move for Phillips. The only thing he might do is he might think to himself, well, I'm not playing at Manchester City, but I'm winning trophies. If I go to Spurs, I might not play there, but I won't win trophies. So what's the point? That's the only thing as well. Will he get paid the same at Spurs? I don't know. That's another concern. You know what I mean? Will he want to take a pay cut? Will he have to take a pay cut? That's obviously something that I'm not sure of. But it is looking like, to be honest with you, Calvin Phillips' time at Manchester City is up, if you didn't already think that already. ES says, if Pep can't get something out of him, what hope has anyone else? Maybe just the style of play ain't working for him, bro, because he's done well at England. He's done well for Leeds. Like, he's done well elsewhere. He's just not doing it at Manchester City. He's obviously just Pep Guardiola, what he needs from a centre defensive midfielder, what he needs from a number 6 in that position, maybe Calvin Phillips just cannot offer us. And that's obviously why now he needs to move on. I don't think it's a case of if Pep Guardiola can't get anything from him, nobody else will. I don't think that's necessarily true. I just don't think Pep Guardiola can get what he needs from Phillips to work in this current system, i.e. he's too slow, basically. Yeah, crazy, man. Crazy. Not really here. Says if he stays at City, he cuts his long-term earning potential, take the cut and elongate your career, make more in the long run. Yeah, again, you know what I mean? It's one of them for Calvin Phillips. It's a difficult decision in terms of, like I say, he's going to win trophies at Manchester City. He'll get medals and shit. He'll get paid more, but he's not playing. And he's still, the problem is he's still being picked for England. I think if Gareth Southgate rang him and said, listen, Calvin, I really like you as a player and that, but ultimately I cannot pick you because you're not playing football. I think then maybe that could force his hand. But ultimately, you've got to ask yourself the question here, why would he leave? He's winning trophies. He's earning cash. He's playing with the best players in the world. He's close to his home club, his hometown, Leeds. You know what I mean? What's that? 45 minutes in the car. And he's still being picked for England. And this is the problem I have. Because say he leaves, right? Say he leaves and goes to a mid-table team. Then he might get exposed in that team because the players around him are not that good. So then he's playing. People go, oh, Calvin Phillips not doing very well. Yeah, because he's playing with lesser players. And then it might actually get Southgate go, oh, you're not playing very well. I'm not going to pick you. And he's not winning trophies. And he's taking a pay cut. He's got everything he wants here, other than the fact he's not playing. But, you know, I don't know. I just think it's a weird one for him, man. It's a weird one for him. And listen, it's sad. It's a sad situation. It really is because, you know, we want it to work. Of course, you should want if you're a City fan, or a fan of any club, You should always want the players at that club to succeed, right? Otherwise, I think you're a weirdo. But it's just not going to work for Phillips. And I wish it did, but I just don't think it is. It's just not fast enough for me. It's off the ball movement is too slow. His physicality is something that someone mentioned to me a couple of weeks ago, and he was right. Not actually very physical. So I just don't think it's going to work. I moved to Tottenham though, big club, happy days. I think that could be something that could work. Marshall says, I hear you, LB, but most players want to be playing. I think that's the massive part of it, in my opinion. If he ain't getting the play time at City, he's going to look elsewhere. Maybe, but he didn't look elsewhere in the summer, bro. He didn't look elsewhere in the summer. So potentially, but, like I said, yes, he's not playing, but he's still being picked for his national team. He's still playing for England. He's still winning trophies. He's still collecting a pay packet at the end of the month. So I don't know. It all depends. It's easy. Like I sit here now, right? And you obviously sit there and said, yeah, but players want to play football. Yeah, of course they do. That's what we all think. But we also don't know about the other stuff that goes on. We don't know what it's like to be a professional footballer. We don't know what it's like to have the decision to be at Manchester City and win trophies, even though you're not playing, or go to another club and don't win anything. We don't know what that decision's like. Now, we all sit here and go, oh, yeah, we'd obviously all move and to another team where we'd play week in, week out. We'd say that now, but we don't actually know what we feel in the moment. Do you leave a club where you're guaranteed to win trophies and go to another club where you won't win trophies, but you'll play? Like, I don't know. It's easy to say it from our position, isn't it? Because we've never been in that position before. That's all I'd say on that. Noodles says Kimmich might actually be the only player in the world who could be a good backup for Rodri, get him in. Well, there was a couple of rumours flying around. Was it yesterday? Where did I see this rumours about Kimmich? I think it was yesterday. Maybe it was the day before. Not 100% sure on the day. Like I said, I'm losing track of the time. But yeah, there was some rumours going around that apparently Kimmich might be available for 80 million euro. I guess it would be euros because obviously he plays in Germany, which is what, 72 million quid? I agree that Kimmich probably could play in this position because I think he's mobile enough. I think he moves quicker than Calvin Phillips. I think he'd be able to play it. £72 million is a lot of money to spend on a backup DM. And as I've said before, well, I get Kimmich can play in a slightly more advanced position as well, because if you look at Kimmich's stats, if we could bring his stats up here, his creative stats are actually not that bad. Yeah, so if we go on he's already got 3 assists this year in 7 Bundesliga matches. He's got 5 assists in 11 all comps. So he's actually a decent little creative player as well. Like if we go on stats by competition, yeah, let me bring up these stats here, guys, and you can see Kimmich's stats. Kimmich might be the player that actually I'm looking at. So these are his stats in Bundesliga only. So he can create, sort of look from here onwards. This is probably the best sort of the time. So look, 13 goal involvements in 29, 16 in 34, 13 in 33, 14 in 27, 15 in 28, and 11 in 33. He does create. He chips in with a goal or two as well. Now, what have I been asking for? What have I been asking for? I said, I do not believe that you can sign a backup DM to Rodri. I don't think that's going to work. I actually think that Rodri being so good is actually causing us a little bit of a problem. It's a good problem to have, but it's a problem that needs to be solved. And as I say, I'm repeating this, but we can come on to Kimmich potentially being the solution here. The problem I have with Rodri is because he's so good, whoever comes in his place as a DM is there's going to be a massive drop-off. And the problem is with that is Rodri's going to play in 95% of the Premier League games where available, i.e. he's fit and not suspended. So he's going to play in 35 Premier League games. He's going to play in pretty much all the Champions League games, maybe bar match day 5 and match day 6. But even with that, we've seen Pep Guardiola go very strong in match day 5 and match day 6. So that's not even guaranteed. He'll probably only be rested in Carabao Cup games and maybe early round FA Cup matches. So effectively, he's going to be playing 50 games a season for Manchester City, which means whoever you buy as a backup DM is only going to be playing 10, 15 games a season. And most of that's going to come in the second part of the season when I guess it's just sporadic. It's not even second half of the season. It's just sporadic as hell. There's no sort of consistency to it, which means that when the player comes in, say Rodri gets injured or suspended, He's going to come in and he's not going to have played for a month or two. He's been getting 15 minutes here, 20 minutes there, 5 minutes here. That's no good. That's no good. So when he comes in and he plays, he's not going to be match sharp. He'll be fit, but he won't be match sharp. So when he comes in, he's going to be slow, sluggish, a bit rusty. A little bit like when John Stones coming against Arsenal at the weekend. You could tell. You could tell he was rusty. He was moving like a chess piece on a board. Only he could only turn 90-degree angles. He wasn't agile like last year. Guy was like a butterfly, man, on the pitch. You know what I mean? Just going wherever he wanted. It was so smooth and nice to watch. Whereas on Saturday, he was a little bit rusty. Why? Because it's his first game back in 3 months. Obvious, right? And that's the problem that you're going to have with a backup DM. So my thoughts and my beliefs, my solution to this is to buy a player that plays in midfield, right? And they play pretty much every game. They're a key player, but they can also play in DM, right? So Gundogan was that guy because Gundogan played pretty much every game in the midfield. So he was always match sharp. And if Rodri ever got injured or suspended, like he did against United at home last year when we beat them 6-3, Ilkay Gundogan and can drop deep and play in that CDM position. And you've not got, obviously, there's a little bit of a quality gap in that position because Gundogan, as good as he is not as good a DM as Rodri, right? But he's match sharp and he can do a job. We can wing it for a short period of time, is what I'm saying. Although in the case of Gundogan, he did play that role for a year. Now, IP Truss, that is a potential shout. Maybe Núñez can do that, but at this moment in time, we don't know if Núñez is going to be that guy. Maybe he will be. Kimmich can do that position. He can do that. Kimmich could be that person that we're looking for. Kimmich could be that guy that we want at Manchester City. You know, if we check his, let me check his stats out, all stats. So he's played as a defensive midfielder 221 times. He's also played as a centre mid, a little bit further advanced, 64 times, and of course, right back early in his career, he played over 100 games. He's a player, and of course, his stats back it up. He's a player that can play in that midfield, create goals with assists and score goals, as again proven by the stats, but then where necessary, can also drop deep into that number 6 position. Now, this is the sort of, Kovacic is so close to being that guy, but he's not that guy. He's not that guy. The problem with Kovacic is he's not good enough creatively wise, which we all knew when we signed him, and I knew that as well. And at the moment, I'm not really getting the vibe that he can even wing the 6th position. I thought maybe he could wing it for a couple of games. Don't really look like that. So he can't do that. IP Trust says Núñez. Núñez potentially might be able to do it, but we'll have to wait and see on how much he plays because, of course, this only works if the player plays a lot, so they're match sharp, because otherwise you're in the same position with Phillips where guy don't play for 6 months and you're like, oh, go on, play this match for us. And he comes on and he just looks crap because he's not played for 6 months. He's rusty as hell. So with Núñez, potentially he could do it. Núñez has the attributes to do it. He's fast. He's fast on the ball. He's fast off the ball. He's good in a tackle. He likes to defend. He's good in the aggressively wise. He can drive the ball forward. Creativity wise, we've not really seen that too much. But again, we've not really seen too much of Núñez, to be fair. So it's kind of harsh to say that to a certain degree. And of course, Pep does love him, so you'd assume that he will play minutes for us. So potentially Núñez could play that position, but if he can't, then I think maybe Kimmich is something that we should potentially look at. Now, he's contracted until 2025. So that means in the summer, he's going to have 1 year left on his contract. That could be the perfect time to test Bayern Munich's resolve. Because if you can get Joshua Kimmich out of Bayern Munich next year, I mean, what would he cost? A year left on his contract. He'll be 29. 60 mil? 60 million? Maybe 65? I don't think you can really go any higher than maybe 70 absolute max. I know he's only got a year left on his contract, but he is a world-class player. Do you go any higher than 70? I think that's maximum where you'd be looking for. But of course, he would then play in the midfield with Kevin De Bruyne. And that would be some midfield. Rodri, Kimmich, and Kevin De Bruyne. Wow. Wow, that is interesting. That is interesting. So yeah, listen, I think it's super I think it's a very complex situation, and I think sometimes people, when we look at the midfield, I think some people just think it's not as people think it's more simple than it is. It's not. It's not just a case of signing Zubimendi and just saying that's fine. Because you can sign Zubimendi, you can sign whatever centre defensive midfielder you want in the world, but ultimately you have to then face the facts that they are not going to play a lot of football, and then when you require them to play, they're not going to be match sharp. And then what you're going to do? Then you can't blame the player for that. And that's why I always say the hardest thing in the world in football, in terms of signings, is to sign backup squad players because it's a lot harder than buying starters. To say about exactly, so I'm not saying he's going to be a backup. This Kimmich thing that I'm sort of laying out only works if you play him in midfield, basically play him in the Gundogan position. That's the only way it works. Otherwise, I completely agree. It ain't going to work. Let's have a look at some of the comments there and see what you guys are saying. Musiala. Well, Musiala is obviously a generational talent. He's going to be up there with the likes of Bellingham's and Haaland's and Mbappe's for Ballon d'Ors and all that kind of stuff. There's no doubt about that. What's really upsetting, right, is that I seen an interview that he done a couple of weeks ago, and I can't find it now. I've been looking for it, and I can't find it for the life of me. And basically, I'm going to paraphrase, and if anyone can find this interview on Twitter or Instagram or whatever, please send it me on my DMs, right, or comment on a video what he said. But essentially, he said something along the lines of, I'm happy at Bayern, but I want to be winning big trophies. Saying, like, if we don't fix up in the Champions League, because Bayern Munich's Champions League record in the last couple of years has been poor for a club of their size, then he might potentially look elsewhere. That's potentially a thing. So, of course, we're looking for a replacement for Kevin De Bruyne soon. Could Manchester City look at Musiala as that potential replacement? Apparently, Pep really, really likes the player, obviously, because he's mint. I don't know. I mean, that is one that would cost you a lot of money. Let's have a look at his contract situation. Jamal Musiala. Now, according to this, he's eligible to play for England. So is he born in England? Maybe he has English parents or something? What's happened here? No, he was born in Germany. So why could he play for England? Born in Germany to a Nigerian father and a German mother. He was raised from the age of 7 in England. Musiala played for both Germany and England national teams at the youth level and eventually pledged his allegiance to the German Football Association for future games in February 2021. So, yeah, he played for England under 15s, England under 16s, and England under 17s, England under 21s. He only played for Germany's under, youth league twice, according to Wikipedia, although Wikipedia can sometimes be a bit dead. So, right, okay. So, I guess he'd have no problem playing for City or coming to the Premier League, given the fact he was raised here as a 7-year-old and played for England. You know what I mean? He speaks the language. Who knows? Might be a City fan. I don't know. But anyway, Musiala contracted until 2026. So, if you get him next year, 2024, that's only 2 years. That's only 2 years left on his deal. 100 million, 120 million. Again, can you really go any higher than 120 million when Bellingham went for 110 or whatever, and Jamal Musiala's only got 2 years left on his contract? Or do you try and push it a little bit and wait until 2025 when he's only going to have 1 year left on his contract, but you then do run the risk of him signing a new contract at Bayern Munich, and then, unless there's a release clause in there, which is unlikely, you're going to be screwed there on the price. So, I mean, let's have a look at his stats. I bet his stats are ridiculous, aren't they? This year he's not really got off to the best start in the world. Right, so last year, 47 games, 16 goals, 16 assists in all competitions. That is just phenomenal. That's a goal or an assist every 94 minutes. That's freaky, That's freaky. How old is he as well? He's only 20 years old. He's only 20. What the hell? That is crazy. I tell you what, man. Musiala, Kevin De Bruyne replacement. We will be there. We will be there. Yeah, so listen, it's going to be an interesting one, man. I think for the Rodri replacement or the backup, it's going to have to be Nunes, or you're going to have to make a big signing to someone like a Kimmich. We'll have to wait and see if Nunes can do it. Hopefully, Nunes can do it because I think Nunes has the attributes to do it. My problem with Nunes is when he's playing in the midfield, i.e., a little bit further forward in the Gundogan position, not the Rodri position, is he going to create enough? Is he going to score enough? Because we need more goals in this team, man. You know, we've gone from a team that last year had Mahrez who could score, Kevin De Bruyne who could score, Haaland who could score, Gundogan who could score, and then Grealish who didn't really score. But, you know, you had, what, 4 players there, Gundogan, Kevin De Bruyne, Mahrez, and Haaland who could score, to a team that Kovacic doesn't score, Kevin De Bruyne's injured until 2024, Grealish doesn't score, and Foden ain't really Foden's in a bit of a weird position with his position. Like, I don't really like what's going on with Foden's positioning at the moment. So we need goals. Can Nunes add that to his game? Maybe. I don't know. I've not seen enough of him. But yeah, there we go. So just a little bit of an update, man, really. If you like the stream, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you drop a like on it. If you've not done so already, by the way, go and check out my video that I did yesterday, that I uploaded yesterday. It's my reaction to Mark Goldbridge said we're in a crisis. So I did a reaction video to it. So if you've not already checked it out, go and check it out. I'll put the link in the chat now. It seems to have gone down well because it's got quite a lot of views. So go check it out. Other than that, ooh, whoa, wow! Look at the focus, man. That's pretty mad, isn't it? Like out of focus, in focus. Anyway, yeah. Other than that, I'll probably be back later on with another stream. I'm thinking watch-alongs, right? I'm going to do a community post in a bit. In fact, I'll do it now. Any watch-alongs you want me to do, whack a comment on the community post and we'll have a look at the time. As long as it's not a dead time in the morning, then I'll look at doing it. England versus Australia. A message to the Aussies who are probably not watching this because it's the worst time for Aussies. But a message to the England fans and the Aussies. Friday night, 7:45, England versus Australia. Australia going to get a whoop-ass, mate. We're going to do a watch-along. We will be there. So this is probably not the best time to announce that for the Australian guys because they're probably all in bed, innit? But, yeah, there we go. Hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to go Aldi now, get some stuff because we need to get some food in that. And then I'm going to go gym, get a nice chest and shoulder workout. Other than that, guys, enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good one. And I'll catch you in a bit. See you later.